So, if you have been selling on Etsy for 2 or 3 years now, and you've had some traction, you've been having some, good results for the first couple of years you were on Etsy, and then suddenly this year you have just seen your sales absolutely tank. Like, you can't understand what's going on. Your traffic has taken a nosedive, your sales are stagnant, and you have literally no idea what is happening. Then this video is for you, and I'm going to break down something that not enough people are talking about in this space, and it's really quite shocking to me that nobody is talking about it. Now, if you haven't been on Etsy for that long, if you're a relatively new seller, then it's worth listening into this anyway, because this is something that I guarantee will happen to you at some point too. And I want to walk you through what it is and what to do about it, because this year, I have had so many sellers come to me with the exact story. I mean, it literally is a copy and paste, every single person. And every single time we've looked into their stats, we've gone, yep, like this is exactly what we are seeing across all of these businesses. And it's the same story every single time. Now, what this is actually a phenomenon or a general thing that happens in product businesses, and it affects small businesses, it affects Etsy sellers, it affects the huge multi-million-pound brands that you know and love, the huge brands that I worked for in my 10 years in retail marketing and e-commerce before I went full-time in my Etsy shop. And it's something that every person who sells a product, whether that is a physical product, whether that is a digital product, whether that is a coaching course, anything that you sell, if you productize anything that you sell, then you are going to hit this issue at some point in your business. And like I say, nobody talks about it. So I'm going to break it down for you today. So what I want to do is I want to do some jiggery pokery and maybe put a pop up on the screen here where I show you a diagram. And this diagram is going to be the product life cycle, right? So it's going to hopefully be here now when I do some magic afterwards, and it will show you the curve of what happens to a product during its life cycle. So you can see in this diagram, it starts off, and I'm going to pull it up on my screen so I can see what I'm talking about and walk you through it. And then, like I say, I will stick it on in post-production so you can see it too. So you can see at the very start, on the left-hand side of this graph, you have got launch MVP, right? So this is when you go live with your initial product. And you can see it's kind of a little bit of a flat line before that, because this is where you are developing and iterating different variations of your product until you find what is next in the diagram, which is the product to market fit, okay? So in the initial stages of your business, when you are just starting out, so you are a new Etsy seller watching this, then this is where you are right now. You are iterating, you are creating product variations, you are trying to find that product to market fit, where you hit that subsection of what your audience wants and needs and what you can really excel at and stand out with. And that is, once you find that part, that is where you hit that product to market fit. And so if you have had a product that has been selling really well for a couple of years, maybe you've had like a decent amount of sales, you have been, kind of flying off the back of these initial products that you have managed to find product to market fit with, and maybe your graph looks something like what I will pop up in a second, you have hit product to market fit and you're on this kind of curve upwards here where we go up the product to market fit and we start seeing that really like steep spiral upwards, right? And that's because we have basically found exactly what our products, what our customers want. We have created a product that our customers love and want to buy, and we have been, more often than not, for Etsy sellers anyway, we have been riding the coattails of that product to market fit, because we're like, okay, we can finally take our foot off the pedal and we can coast a little bit off the back of this product that finally seems to be doing well for us. Okay, and I'm not judging here, this is what every single Etsy seller does. This is exactly what I have been doing for a couple of years, and it's absolutely great when that happens. However, you are likely, if you're watching this video because you're frustrated that you've got low sales and your products have stopped working, you are likely now in this next part here, right? So you see this life cycle extension bit and you've got two paths. You've got the path that continues to dip upwards, or you have got the big drop down afterwards, right? So you've hit product maturity, you have saturated your market, and you are now either going down one of two paths. Likelihood is you are going down the first path, which most people do, which is the decline into the end of life for this product. And again, I'll get up these stats about my shop that I'm seeing in my shop too. So this was one of my best selling products that I will pull up for you now. And this was my listing so I think I listed this, back in 2021, and it absolutely took off in 2022. And you can see that it grew, and then all of a sudden it declined and declined, and then it has flatlined, right? And that is the perfect example of the product life cycle. I iterated for a few months. I had lots of different variations of this product. I finally found one that hit product to market fit, and I absolutely rode the wave of that product for a couple of years, like you can see in these numbers. And I completely, I cashed in with it. It was amazing. It was great. But what I didn't do is I didn't iterate further, and I didn't keep going. I just rode off the back of that product, and now I am seeing a complete decline and a complete flat line with this product. It sells once or twice a year. So I'll leave it live because, it's not harming my shop, but it is not doing the heavy lifting it used to do. Now, I knew about the product life cycle from my e-commerce days, but I kind of thought that didn't apply the same on Etsy back when I first started to see this product decline. So I didn't really spot the warning signs. And so I just kind of was accepting that, the following years were okay. They maybe weren't as strong as they had been, but they were still bringing me in a few tens of thousands of pounds, so I really wasn't too worried. And obviously I had more than one of these products as well that was doing the exact same thing. And so I ignored it, right? And then when I really started to see that huge decline towards the end here, that's when I started to think, oh, actually, I need to figure out how to go back over into this life cycle extension and to give this product a new lease of life. And unfortunately, no matter what I did at this point, I could not resurrect this product. Now, more often than not, in the wider e-com space, when you have an amazing product and you find product to market fit, you can absolutely do this. You can extend the life cycle of your product. However, after much iteration in my shop, after a lot of work with other sellers, there is a little caveat when it comes to Etsy, and that is that it is very, very difficult to resurrect the same listing. So once you see this product to market fit, this product saturation with your initial listing, and you start to see the decline, with so much love, you need to let that listing go, okay? You can let it coast along, you can leave it playing in its own game, you can leave it to do its own thing and sell here and there. You're gonna really struggle to maintain huge product to market fit with that particular listing longer term. So what you need to do instead is iterate in new listings. So I'm gonna take you through a few strategies, and don't worry, I'm not telling that you need to rip every single product up and start again every time this happens, because actually a lot of the time the product itself is fine. It is just the listing on Etsy that we are struggling with. So I'm going to walk you through a few strategies that will help you to figure out what to do when this happens. But what I really want you to do is, if you are struggling with your sales right now, if you are struggling and you have had previous bestsellers that are just not selling anymore, I want you to go into your stats. I want you to set your numbers, your time frame to all time. And I want you to have a look if this is the same thing that you are seeing in your product, right? If this is the same trend that you are seeing with your listing. And if it is, then you are in exactly the right place, and this is what we are going to do next. If that is not what you're seeing, if you have never really got this product off the ground, then you're probably actually back over in our graphic. You're probably still in the finding product to market fit phase, and that is fine. You can still do these strategies that I'm going to walk you through now, but you never quite got that product to market fit. So if you haven't seen that incremental sales year over year that then starts to decline, then you're still finding product to market fit, which is amazing. We've got loads of opportunity there as well, okay? So what do we do to extend the life cycle, to extend the lifespan of a product on Etsy itself? So if you have found that you have got this listing that has been doing incredibly well and then it has dropped off a cliff, then the first thing you want to do is you want to duplicate this listing, and you want to start thinking about what the market has shifted, or how the market has shifted, should I say, in the last 1 to 2 years since this product was at its peak. So you really want to take a critical view of the product. You want to start thinking, have the trends shift, right? So for example, in the wedding space, has the trend or style or type of product that people are buying shifted? So for example, for me in the wedding space, this best-selling product that I had was very typical of the popular kind of eucalyptus style wedding that was most popular back in 2021, 2022, and a bit 2023 as well. A lot of people went for this style. It was one of the best-selling styles on Etsy, and unfortunately what I found was that once that happened, I actually had a lot of copycats, right, that came and flooded the market with very similar things. So this is one of the things that could have happened to you. If you've been finding that you had a real bestseller, you were top of searches, you were getting, 2, 3, 4 sales a day plus, and this product was absolutely flying, then it's likely that other sellers noticed this too and jumped off the back of what was working for you. Because that's what people do, right? When we are on a marketplace like Etsy, it's very easy to spot bestsellers with bestseller badges, with popular now badges, with Etsy's pick badges, and then unfortunately some people take the opportunity then to copy what you've done. So that's the first thing that could have happened, right? So the market may now be saturated with very similar products to what you sold previously. And so you need to start adapting to what has happened here, right? So you need to beat your competition. So you need to be creating new variations, new versions of this product. But what I would always do is I would check first that you have still got demand for this style in the market. So the first thing you're going to do is you are going to look at this product. You're going to go into an incognito or a private browser on Etsy, and you are going to look for your products, right? Specifically the design style that you have, the type of customer you're targeting. So in my example of a eucalyptus wedding sign, I am going to search for eucalyptus wedding sign, and I am going to look for bestseller badges, popular now badges, Etsy's pick badges. I'm going to look for listings with a lot of reviews, and I'm going to check that there is still demand for this actual design style. Now, if there is still trending products in this space, then I am going to duplicate the listing, and I am going to try new thumbnails. I am going to try new tags and titles. I am going to consider if people are searching a little bit differently. So are they coming up with different phrases? Has the market shifted in terms of price or anything like that as well? So what do we do if then in that case, when we are searching for our products and we don't see those popular now badges, we don't see those bestseller badges in our design style, we need to reiterate in a new style for 2026 or for whatever time frame it is that you are looking at your products. So if I give you the example again of that wedding sign, yes, there is still a couple of bestsellers in that eucalyptus style design. However, I know as a marketer, as a brand strategist, as somebody who has worked in big resale brands for many, many years, I know how market shifts work. And if we apply a logical thought process to the wedding space right now, if we think about the type of person who is getting married in 2026, we are actually coming towards the end of the millennial couples getting married, okay? So the generation of couples that are getting married is shifting. It is now Gen Z who is making up the bulk of the wedding market. Of course, there is still older couples, millennial couples, boomer couples, every single generation of couples still getting married in 2026. And so that eucalyptus design might still attract that person. It doesn't generally, in my experience, tend to be attracting the Gen Z bride, right? The Gen Z couple. And their style and their trend is very different. The type of wedding they're having is very different. The type of signs they are looking for is very different. And so I will be looking at ways to bring that design up into a modern day design that is going to be relevant for my current customer, right? So that Gen Z bride, I might be trying to interview her if I can. I might be trying to look in Reddit forums and Facebook groups and on Instagram and on TikTok and look at what trends are really popular right now in the modern day bride space, okay? So I might be looking to modernize my fonts into a more handwriting style because that is really popular right now. The kind of very sophisticated, elegant script fonts and very neat like sans serif font, or serif font should I say, are kind of being phased out for scribbly fonts that look a little bit looser, a little bit more fun, a little bit more playful. And so I know I need to tap into that bride because she is dominating the market right now. And if I don't do that, then I'm going to get left behind by my own market. So that is the second thing that we want to consider. The third thing we really want to consider in this space as well, no matter what you sell, is the format of your products. So is there potentially a shift in the dynamic of what people are wanting to buy? So I have always sold physical wedding signs, not digital, right? I have a handful of digital ones. They never sold as well as the physical ones. And so I just always sold physical because I could make a bigger margin. I could make more money from it. And I've always loved doing it. I have noticed that I am getting inundated with my new, more modern design styles for digital versions of my signs because this bride is savvy. She has got TikTok, at her fingertips. She has got hundreds of other brides sharing their experiences who are saying, hey, by the way, you can use all of these different websites to print your own signs. Don't spend a fortune on Etsy. Go and print your signs yourself, blah, 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 right? And so that's another thing I need to adapt to. I need to consider, do I need to be offering a digital version for this savvy bride who she'll still pay for a template because she maybe doesn't have the design skills, but she's not going to pay top whack for having a full experience of having her product printed when she can do it for cheaper herself. And a part of that is also the current climate, the current financial climate as well, where people do generally have less money, and so people are spending a little bit less in that space. And so that's another thing you want to think about. Is there a different format, right? This is not just a wedding thing. If you think about any industry, how different the industries look from a year ago with AI, how different industries look like from a year ago with technology, okay? We can quickly see a change in what people are after. So especially in the digital space, you might be being left behind by not going down the route of AI specific products, right? Or you might absolutely be dominating by not offering AI specific products because your particular customer is very anti-AI. So understanding what your customer wants and needs from you and what formats your customer wants your products in right now is important too. So what I was just talking about there was kind of the digital space, but there's also, other elements. For example, do people prefer a new material, a different sizing, a different, if you think about clothing, have people gone from wanting skinny jeans to flared jeans to baggy jeans, back to the skinny jean, back to the flared jean, right? If you look at trends throughout the ages in fashion, in decor, in anything like that, these things shift on a regular annual basis. And so you need to make sure you are still relevant to the current market in your design style, in your formats, in your materials, in your sizes, whatever it might be that is relevant to your product. There is a very big potential that something has shifted in 2026. And so you absolutely want to be making sure that you are keeping up with what is popular right now for your particular product space. So the one last thing that I'd written down that I definitely wanted to mention to you is that there is also the element of going down a different angle for your customers as well. So it might not be that the product itself needs to change. It could just be the way you are talking about it. So if we take food, for example, if we took a product like oat milk, right? It blew up a few years ago as an alternative to dairy. People were talking about the hormone disruptors from, cow's milk and from dairy. All of a sudden, the trend was to stop drinking and eating dairy and start, drinking and eating plant-based dairy. There is also the veganism. I'm not calling it a trend because it is a way of life and a lifestyle, but obviously veganism became a lot more popular in more recent years as well. And then there's also been the trend around protein and getting your protein in, around fiber maxing, and even now around UPFs. So if we take oat milk as an example, it came on the market as an alternative to cow's milk because at one point dairy was being touted as something that disrupted female hormones. Then we had the vegan element. So we had, you can still enjoy your frothy milky coffees, and you can now use these barista style oat milks to create your coffee shop coffees at home, even if you're vegan. And then there will have been a different element of how much protein is in the oat milk. And then there will have been the angle of, well, oat milk has more fiber than cow's milk. And now there is the new, and I'm not calling it a trend because, health is never a trend, but it is kind of a trend in messaging and the way people talk about things. UPFs, ultra processed foods, that is a big hot topic in the food space at the minute. And so we could now be dressing up the marketing for oat milk as a UPF free product that is a healthier alternative to non-UPF free products, right? And so you can really see how people's priorities, people's desires and pain points can shift around the exact same product based on what people are saying about it. So you might just want to look at your product and look at, is there new angles and new ways that you can talk about your product? Is there new ways that people are searching for your product? And we can apply this to anything, right? So let's take a bundle of kids' printables for the summer, right? One year it might have been how to spend more time with your kids when you are a busy working mum. So that mum might search for quality time with the kids' activities. Then the next summer, maybe everyone on socials is talking about screen-free summers and getting your kids off the screens because screen time is dangerous and screen time is bad. And so maybe this year that person wants the exact same product, but they are searching for screen-free activities for kids instead. And then maybe this year, the trend that people are talking about all over socials is bringing more whimsy into your life. And so maybe the person is now searching for whimsical activities for kids, right? And so your product itself doesn't always have to change, but you can change the way you talk about your product to meet your customer for what she is searching for. And this applies to any sort of product. The one thing that I can give you advice on here is to pay attention to trends in your market. And by that, I don't just mean trending designs, which can be important too, if there is a big boom in a trend in your industry. But what I really mean is thinking about the way that people are talking about your products, the way that people are interacting with your industry, the things that people think are most important in your industry now, the pain points, the desires that people have in your industry. So to cut a long story short, this is the product life cycle in a nutshell, and this is how you are going to be able to extend the life cycle of your product. But you might remember at the start of the video, I said that there is a caveat with the way that these things work on Etsy. And so what I would really keep in mind when you are reiterating your product, you are refining that product to market fit and you're extending the life cycle of your product, leave the existing products alone, duplicate that listing and start again on a fresh version of the listing, so a copy of the listing where you are going after those different angles, going after those different search terms, going after those different thumbnails, different designs, etc. in a new variation. Because one thing we know for sure about Etsy is that Etsy is prioritizing newer listings, and it's very difficult to get an old listing back off the ground once it has started to decline. So don't waste your time in editing and tweaking and refining an old listing once it has really saturated the market and then started that decline and hit maturity. You just want to start on a new listing and really give yourself the best chance with a fresh listing in search. So I hope that this has been helpful. I hope that you are seeing a new kind of opportunity when you now understand the product life cycle that you are facing when it comes to creating products. And if anything, I would say that this is a really exciting opportunity for you because we have got so much creativity that we can go after. We have got so many new options available to us. The opportunities in the market are endless. There is one thing I know for certain, and that is that people are not stopping buying. They are just shifting their attention and their priorities into other places, and we just need to keep meeting our customer where we are at. I've popped all of this into a checklist below for you so that you have it for reference, so you can grab that from the description. And I hope that you have found this video helpful, and I will see you in the next episode.